Shabbat Shalom and greetings to the 12 tribes of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob scattered into the four corners of the earth. Greetings to all who are not bloodline of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and yet want to serve the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in spirit and in truth. The Father seeketh such to worship him. Greetings to all who have no idea what's going on in the world and don't understand why, but do want to see changes, would like to see corruption, would like to see evil end, and truth and righteousness reign. Greetings to all of you. Shabbat Shalom, Jamal. Greetings to all of you. We are continuing our study today in Daniel chapter 3. We started last night, and we were talking about parallels, and we're going to see more parallels. Parallels between Daniel chapter 3, Shabbat Shalom, Junior, Daniel chapter 3, and Revelation chapter 13. Parallels. As a matter of fact, I often say everything in the book of Revelation is in the prophets. Everything in the book of Revelation is in the prophets. Most people don't recognize that, but everything is in there. And the book of Revelation is really a message to the Israelite people. It's a message to the Most High's chosen. And that's why it's not understood properly unless the Israelites are awakened that read it. Then there's a proper understanding given, because it was created, it was made for them. Okay. And they were made to give that message to the earth. They were made to give their message to the earth, because that's why the Apostle Paul writes in Romans quite often. In fact, let's take a look at that. Let's start off with that. I'd like to start off with the gospel that everybody has their own definition of. But the Bible gives a definition, and we praise him for that. Praise the Most High Yah, our Father in heaven, and the Messiah, Yahushua. We praise them for giving us Bible definitions of things, so we don't have to make things up like man makes things up. Shalom, Mark. And so let's take a look. Romans chapter 1. Romans chapter 1. This is the Apostle Paul. And I'm going to start, actually, I want to start at verse 1 in Romans, just to get his introduction here. Romans chapter 1. I'm going to read from verse 1 down to verse 4. Actually, verse 5, from 1 to 5. Notice what it says here. Paul, a servant of Yahushua, Messiah, called to be an apostle, separated unto the gospel of Yah, which he had promised afore by his prophets in the Holy Scriptures, concerning his son, Yahushua Messiah, our master, which was made of the seed of David according to the flesh, and declared to be the Son of Yah with power according to the Spirit of holiness, by the resurrection from the dead, by whom we have received grace and apostleship for obedience to the faith among all nations for his name. Obedience to the faith. What is the faith? The people have different definitions of what the faith is, right? The Bible does tell us what the faith is. But first, let's take a look at what the gospel is. According to, he mentioned the gospel of Yah. He mentioned the gospel of Yah here, that Messiah brought the gospel of his Father. Did you see that? He said, declared to be the Son of Yah according to the power of the Spirit of holiness, by the resurrection of the dead, by whom, by Messiah, we receive grace and apostleship for obedience to the faith among all nations for his name. And then earlier, he said, Paul, and servant of Yahushua Messiah, called to be an apostle, separated unto the gospel of Yah. Separated into the gospel of Yah, through Messiah, receive grace and apostleship. See, that's what people don't understand. The relationship between the Father and his Son, and their relationship to us. Shabbat Shalom. So let's take a look at the gospel, the actual definition of the gospel. I'm going to start at verse 15. I'm going to start at verse 15 and go down to verse 18. Okay? And in there, chapter 1, verse 16 and 17 is the definition of the gospel. Let's take a look at that. Paul says, so as much as an enemy is I am ready to preach the gospel to you that are at Rome also. As much as his enemy said he's an apostle, and as we read later in Romans, he says he's appointed to preach the gospel of Yah to the Gentiles. He's appointed to preach the gospel of Yah to the Gentiles. It also should be noted that until the apostle Peter or Kepha received the message from Yah to go to Cornelius' house and teach him about Messiah, until that moment, nobody in the Hebrew community of followers of Messiah believed or understood or came to the knowledge that Gentiles are supposed to receive this message. It wasn't until that time. And it was shocking to all of them. So people don't understand when you're reading Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, at that time, Messiah was only talking to Israelites. He wasn't talking to Gentiles. He was talking to his Israelite brothers and his family, and he was dealing with things concerning Israel. So when he's talking to Nicodemus and he says, Yah so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, he wasn't talking, Nicodemus did not have an understanding. He was talking about Gentiles. He was talking about the scattered, chosen flock, because the nation of Israel already, many times in history, have been scattered already, okay, at that time. So he said, when he's talking about the world, he's talking about the Israelite people scattered throughout the world. And some people say, well, the world is everybody. But listen, in the same Gospel of John, chapter 17, Messiah says, I pray not for the world, but for those thou hast given me. That's what he said. So you can't say he loved the world, but he's praying not for the world at the same time. He's talking about Israelites that have been scattered. It wasn't until later when Cornelius, the Gentile Italian, got a vision, and the angel told him, go get Kepha, and he's going to tell you what you need to know. Because Gentiles are appointed to receive this message from the Israelites. When they try to create their own version of it and go off on their own, that's why you have the confusion of religion and organized religion we got today. That's why you have it. We're going to talk more about that as we get further into Daniel. But now, for I am not so as much as in me is, I am ready to preach the gospel to you also that at Rome, to you that are at Rome also, for I am not ashamed of the gospel of Messiah. For it is the power of Yah unto salvation to everyone that believeth, to the Jew first, and also to the Greek. Why does he say to the Jew first? It originates with the Hebrew. The truth of the gospel originates with the Hebrew. That's why this so-called gospel that you got going toward the world today, if it was the true one, the world would have been over already. Kingdom would have come already, because that gospel of white Jesus has been everywhere. It's everywhere. You can't say it hasn't been to every nation on earth, because it has. And yet nothing has changed, because it's not the same gospel that this Bible is talking about. Okay, the gospel of the Father. He said, this is the gospel of Yah, power of Yah. That is the Father's power through Messiah, the Father's power, not white Jesus. Okay, let's continue. Verse 17. For therein, that is in the Father's power through Messiah, therein, this is it right here, the righteousness of Yah is revealed. Therein is the righteousness of Yah revealed. And this is the whole crux of the matter. The gospel basis is that the Father's righteousness is revealed through his chosen people and through those that receive from them the true Hebrew Messiah. The Father's righteousness is revealed because Satan is making claims and has been from the beginning made lying claims that the Father is not righteous. And in fact, over time, it got to the point where the people didn't even realize that he exists. That's why Moses said, what is your name? He said, I exist. And it's almost embarrassing that he has to say that. You know why? Because when you see trees and you see the sun and you see stars and you breathe air, where do you think all of that came from? Or when you look at the human body, where scientists are still trying to discover things within our body, millions of things that are within us that are intricately made by an intelligent design. How could you not know there's a creator? So he has to first say, I exist. And he said, he that cometh to Yah must believe that he is, or that he exists. Ahaya, Ashar, Ahaya. Yahweh. Yah exists. Okay, so the righteousness of Yah is revealed from faith to faith, as it is written, the just shall live by faith. For the wrath of Yah is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men who hold the truth in unrighteousness. Because he's going to put wrath on this earth. He's offended. Imagine if it was you. I mean, that's what people, it kills me. People are ready to accuse the Most High, accuse other people, and they never put themselves in the position to understand where it's coming from. If it was you and you made something tremendous and great, and everybody admired this thing that you created that was tremendous and great, and somebody else took credit for it, how would you feel? And then they took credit for it, then they defaced it and said it was you that messed it up. How would you feel? And what much less the creator of heaven and earth, that through his own intelligence, through his own infinite mind, he put everything into order and made it perfect. And y'all got some people out there to act like he doesn't exist. So he has to come to Moses and say, aha, ahaya, asha, ahaya. I existed, I exist, brother. And then later he has to come and say, you know, your fathers knew me by Al Shaddai, but my name they didn't know. Yahweh, Yah exists. So this is the gospel, revealing the Father's righteousness through the Spirit that comes by Messiah. Revealing the Father's righteousness. Now, brothers and sisters, you and I don't have power within ourselves to do that. This is what's called grace. You don't have power within yourself to do that. That's a power given to you. He says you must be a partaker of a divine nature. What does that mean? Partake. That means you are sharing in a divine nature. It's not yours. You don't own it. Your nature is human. We're all prone to sin. But when he's offering you to share in a divine nature through Messiah, Messiah's nature is divine. That's eternal. That's perfect and righteousness. And he's saying, I'm going to allow you to share in that. That you can bring glory to the Father in obedience to his truth. Now, what about the faith? The Bible defines what the faith is. The Apostle Paul does it very well. And it's a shame that so many brothers are deceived by Christianity, that when they leave Christianity, they start rejecting Paul. Because Christians use Paul for all of their errors. All the errors they promote in Christianity, they use the Apostle Paul's right. And simply, it's very simple. If you had the sense to actually look at the prophets and look at how many times the Apostle Paul quotes prophets and everything that he writes, you will understand that the Christians don't know what they're talking about. Because, see, brothers and sisters, when you rip the Bible and take a third of it off and say, this is the new covenant, we just following this, you have no idea. It's like saying, I'm going to take the heart out of your body and we'll just follow the rest of the body, and the heart is gone. The body dies. You need the whole thing. It's supposed to be together. Same with those that say, well, I'm only following the Torah. You ain't following nothing. For the law was given by Moses, but grace and truth came by Messiah, Yahweh. In other words, the instructions came, the Most High gave the instructions and the commands through Moses, but he gave the power and the understanding through the Messiah. He gave the instructions and commands through Moses, but the power and understanding came through Messiah. You missing one, you missing everything. Let's talk about the faith. Galatians chapter 2. Now, when you read this, don't rush through it. Because if you rush through it, you're going to miss it. You know, if you rush through it, you're going to miss it. It's like watching a movie, right? And important details of the movie come out that later explain what other things happen. And you miss the details, so you don't understand what happens later. You ever see that? Somebody's watching a movie and certain important details come out and you miss the detail. And then later on, you don't understand what happened. But if you go back and look at and catch that detail, you understand why things happen in the movie. Well, it's the same thing. If you rush through this scripture, you're not going to get it. You got to take your time. Because this one here that I'm going to read, it's going to explain to you what the faith is. Okay, you ready? Galatians chapter 2, verse 20. knowing that a man is not justified by the works of the law, but by the faith of Yahushua the Messiah. Even we have believed in Yahushua the Messiah, that we might be justified by the faith of Messiah, and not by the works of the law. For by the works of the law shall no flesh be justified. People are so brainwashed. I'm gonna have to go through this piece by piece, because you start hearing this works of the law, and you Christians start tripping and say there's no law, and Israelites start tripping and saying Paul is throwing away the law. And let's look at it closely. Knowing that a man is not justified. What is the word justified? Think about that. What does the word justify mean? Let me give it to you. You can look it up for yourself. Justified means to be declared innocent. Let me say it again. Justified means to be declared innocent. So let me give you an example. A man commits a murder. Somebody did him wrong, and he decided to take the law in his hands, and he rolls up on somebody with a 9mm, empties it on him, and kills him. He just committed murder, okay? He is in jail now, all right? So when he's in jail, he feels bad that he has committed the murder. He realizes his anger got the best of him, and it cost the man his life. So from that point on, he becomes a model citizen. He helps out the warden. He does everything he can to counsel other prisoners. He becomes a model citizen in the prison. So let me ask you, all of the good things that the man is doing in the prison, does it change the fact that he took a man's life by murder? Does it change the fact that the man he killed is dead? Does it take back that day where he lost his anger and he ended the man's life? No, it doesn't. So that all the good works he does going forward does not make him innocent of what he already did. Knowing that a man is not justified by the works of the law. Are you understanding? So that all have sinned and come short of Yah's glory. So because we have sinned, no matter if we keep the law perfectly, once we understand more perfectly the law, it doesn't change the fact that we have already sinned. So you can never be declared innocent by your good work, because you've already sinned. You might be sorry, but it doesn't change what you did. You understand? So Paul is saying you can keep all the law. You can wear all the tassels you want. You can wrap your head with all the mitres you want. You can do all the Sabbaths you want. But if you have sinned, doesn't change that you have sinned. You are not declared innocent because of all your good works. Knowing that a man is not justified by the works of the law. Well, how are we justified? How are we declared innocent? Notice what it says. By the faith of Yahushua Messiah, we are declared innocent by his faith. When the Bible talks about the faith, that's what it's talking about. His faith. Now the question should be, what is his faith? What is the faith of Messiah? That's the question, because that's how we get declared innocent, and we let the Bible answer. Notice again, Philippians chapter 3. Philippians chapter 3. Okay, so watch. I'm going to start at verse 5 and go down from verse 5 down to, and the answer to what I'm asking, the question I just posed, is in verse 9. But we need some context, okay? So let's take a look. Paul explains who he is in the flesh. Circumcised the 8th day, of the stock of Israel, of the tribe of Benjamin, and Hebrew of the Hebrews, as touching the law, a Pharisee, concerning zeal, persecuting the church, touching the righteousness which is in the law, blameless. But what things were gained to me, those I counted loss for Messiah. Yea, doubtless, and I count all things but loss for the excellency of the knowledge of Messiah, Yahushua, my master, for whom I have suffered the loss of all things, and do count them but dung, that I might win Messiah. Watch verse 9. And be found in him, that is, in Messiah, not having mine own righteousness, which is of the law, but that, here it is, that which is through the faith of Messiah. What is the faith of Messiah? Watch closely. The righteousness, which is of Yah by faith. So Messiah's faith is Yah's righteousness. He lives by his Father's righteousness. That's why he's called Yahweh, our righteousness. That's why the gospel is to reveal Yah's righteousness. That's the faith of Messiah. Righteousness is his faith. That's what he walks in. That's what he believes in. That's him. His Father's righteousness. That is the gospel. That is the faith. The faith is in one word, righteousness. That's the faith. And the perfect righteousness can only come from the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That's the only way you can obtain perfect righteousness. And you can't get it directly from him. You could get it through his representative, Messiah. So for all those trying to down Messiah, he's not the Savior. You have no idea what the hell you're talking about. Excuse my language, you don't know what you're talking about. You cannot obtain perfection except through the Savior. That's why he's called Savior. Because without him, you're lost. You have no chance. Because your sin will remain. Your sin will remain. Okay. So we're talking about today standing firm in fire. The power given to us to do that comes from the Father through Messiah. And without that, we won't be able to stand. And we'll see that today. Before we go to Daniel, I want to go to Revelation again, Revelation chapter 18 this time. And I want to, let's go through this a little bit. We're not going to go through the whole thing, but I just want to go through the first part slowly, because this is the message of the 144,000 that's going to come very shortly. We're being prepared, brethren. Us being alone. You know what, this whole COVID, y'all, I think some of y'all could bear witness. This COVID has caused some of us to be placed by ourselves and have nothing to do but study the word. Am I lying? This COVID has caused some of us to be in our house, can't go nowhere, and you have a lot of time to pray and study. And before the COVID, those of you that were coming to this truth of the Israelite Messiah, you also have been separated from your family and friends. The Most High has you this way so that you can spend time in prayer and in the word. Because he's got us, all of us, alone in preparation for what's coming. And brethren, when Messiah told the disciples to tarry at Jerusalem, remember what he said? Tarry at Jerusalem, for ye shall receive power from on high. And then he said, when you receive the power, then you're going to be witnesses unto me. So without the power of the Father's Spirit upon us, we cannot be proper witnesses for Messiah and for Father. We cannot be proper witnesses of his righteousness. And this is what he wants from us. So here in Revelation chapter 18, the message begins with the introduction of how it's going to be brought forth, how it's going to arrive, which is a match for what we read in Revelation 1, verse 1. Remember, and I'm going to read it just like the King James says it so you don't get confused. The revelation of Jesus Christ, which God gave unto him, to show unto his servants things which must shortly come to pass. And he sent and signified it by his angel unto his servant John. So the Father has a revelation of Messiah. He gives that revelation of Messiah to Messiah. Messiah turns around and gives that message to an angel. The angel is the messenger filled with the Father's Spirit that comes to the servant John and endows him with the power and endows him with the message. And now John bears witness. This is how all prophecy comes. This is how all the prophets receive their message, as we're going to see in Daniel very clear. And this is how it's happening here with the 144,000 in Revelation chapter 18, verse 1. And after these things, I saw another angel come down from heaven. What is he coming with? He's coming with a message that he received from Messiah. He's coming also with power that he has been endowed with from Messiah, which Messiah received from his Father. After these things, I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power. The thing about the Bible, it does not exaggerate. It does not waste time. So when it says great power, check that out. That's serious power. It had not been seen on this planet since the apostles received it in the first century. Okay, haven't been seen. And he's coming down. He's giving this power and this message to those who have the seal of Yah in their foreheads, which the Bible describes as the 12 tribes of Israel, which we know to be former slaves, because the Father continuously is taking his people out of slavery. Revelation chapter 18, verse 1. And after these things, I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. The 144,000 are not going to be together ever until they're standing on the sea of glass before the Father's throne. Up until that time, they'll be scattered, and very few of them, if any, will meet each other. That's why I say we have to be prepared to be alone. That's why I also said there's others with the 144,000. It's not just them. They're going to have brethren. It's not just them. They're going to have brethren just like the apostles. Apostles were sent out. Apostle Paul was sent out. And when you read his letters, he's thanking all of these people that were helping him and that been working with him. He's Barnabas and Silas and Mark. And he's thanking all of these people and Apollos. These are not apostles, but these people were with him as he was sent as an apostle. Same thing. When we're standing on the sea of glass and the angel asked John, who are these that are arrayed in white robes? Whence came they? That's the first time they're all come together in one as a group. Scattered throughout the earth because the Israelite people have been scattered throughout the earth. That's why, because we're scattered all over the earth. That's why the message goes to the four corners of the earth, because we've been scattered to the four corners of the earth. That's why. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the hole of every foul spirit, and the cage of every unclean and hateful bird is fallen. In other words, it has. See, brothers and sisters, there's going to come a point, as we read in 2 Chronicles 36. Remember, we read the other day where he said it gets to a point where to the Father he says, there's no remedy. That's it. I'm done. And so he did that with his chosen bloodline people. What are he going to do with the heathen? It's going to get to a point where he's going to say, that's enough. And let me tell you something. The now ongoing preparation of the 144,000 is the Father saying, it's enough. And the only thing now that's stopping the whole destruction from falling on the planet, which is soon to come, is the final sealing of the 144,000 and the accomplishment of this message of their mission. The preparation is ongoing as I'm speaking to you. We don't have much time left. It's in the Father's hands. All time is in the Father's hands. Revelation chapter 18, for verse 3. For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her. And the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. Now watch verse 4. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues. There's a warning. This is a warning. That the warning is saying plagues are coming. They weren't here yet at the time of this message. When they're given this message, plague hadn't arrived yet, but they're telling you plagues are coming. Separate from these pagans before the plagues hit you. This is the thing, brethren. I believe firmly this here. I don't need to argue with anybody or debate with anybody about anything. The Bible says only by pride cometh contention. And especially with regard to this stuff here. Because I must move on a conviction. You understand? It's a conviction. And I have to make sure y'all understand that by saying, I don't want your money. I'm not trying to build no building. I don't care about any offerings or tithes. Do not send them to me, because this ain't about no money. This is way more important than any money. And to me, that's a sign. It's more important. This is really eternal destiny situation. And so I'm not arguing with nobody. I just present it. And the people that are meant to hear it will hear it. Remember what the Bible said? Yahweh added to the church daily such as should be saved. Not to me who decide. I'm not the decider of who's going to be saved and who's going to not be saved. That's the Father. That's Messiah. It's his judgment seat. It's not mine. My job is just to present with the conviction he has put on me, the truth that he has shown me. And it's the same with every true teacher of Israel. It's the same. Those that are here, the Bible says, he that has ears to hear, let him hear. What does that mean? That means if it's meant for you, you will catch it. See, the issue, brethren, is not whether people get convicted on what is truth. The issue is, are they willing to move on that conviction, or do they have other agendas that stop them from doing the right thing? Like Judas. Judas was there. He was a witness that Lazarus was dead 4 days. He was there. He watched as Messiah stood up to that tomb and told him, take away the stone. He was there when Messiah said, Lazarus, come forth. And the man came out in his grave clothes. Judas was there. Yet, right after that, planning already to betray the Messiah. Planning to betray the Messiah for some money. I know that sounds crazy, but listen, it's exactly where we are right now. It is exactly where we are right now. And so Judas received conviction. He was there when a man was raised from the dead. From the dead. The man's sister said his body's starting to rot already. It stinks. Don't open that tomb. The man was dead. There wasn't no embalming in him. They didn't put the Egyptian embalming in him. He was already rotting. Rigor has set in. Messiah called him from the dead. Judas was there. He bore witness. And yet he still betrayed Messiah. That's how strong evil is when somebody not fully given over to the conviction of truth. And you're going to see a lot more. There's a lot more Judases right now. There's a lot more Judases right now. They just had one. We got a world full of them now. But they're all going to meet the same end. Isn't that sad? But it is what it is. The Father knows who are his. He knows who he has ordained. And he that hath ears to hear, he will hear. Revelation chapter 18, verse 4. And 5, and I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues, for her sins have reached unto heaven, and Yah hath remembered her iniquities. He's going to say, that's enough. That's it. I'm done. And the only thing stopping him from saying it right now on the official level is the completion of the seal of his 144,000, which is ongoing. And you can see the signs in the land by why people, you see people lose their whole conscience. They're so ingrained, so seared in evil, they are justifying themselves in evil. And they're committing heinous acts and justifying it. Because the Spirit of the Father has forever left them, and he's never coming back to them. He said, my spirit shall not always strive with man, for he also is flesh. So he's already, that sign in the land right now that you are seeing is a sign also, when you see that the Father on his side is putting that seal, doubling down on his people and getting prepared to bring them forth all over this planet. You know, it's just like my man Gil Scott-Heron said, the revolution will not be televised. When Messiah come and overthrow this whole world government, and that's what he's going to do, completely overthrow and destroy this whole world system and all those that support it. When he does that, it's going to be over. It's going to be over. And it's going to be over very shortly. You're getting to that point. See, it cannot continue like this with greed running things, with everybody moving based on trying to get that dollar to survive. It cannot continue like that. It's not going to. The earth is already reeling under the weight of man's sin and greed. It's already crying out with all of these disasters we're seeing. The animals already suffering. You know, I thought about this. I see so many people that have bumper stickers around here. I think in my neighborhood, I was telling my wife the other day, I think there's actually more dogs in the neighborhood than people. People have 2 dogs, 3 dogs. Everybody have a dog, and a lot of them are rescued. And I thought about that. Like when you hear about a dog being rescued, what does that mean? That means somebody was viciously abusing the animal to the point where the animal had to be rescued from another human being. So that we're living in a world where people are so devoid of care, of love, of righteousness, that they will put all of their evil into persecuting a dumb animal. This is the world we live in. And this is not going to continue. Not much longer. Daniel chapter 3. I want to start at verse 8. We read this yesterday, but I'm going to start here. Daniel 3:8. Wherefore at that time, certain Chaldeans came near and accused the Israelites, or the Jews, they said, the Yahudim, those from the kingdom of Judah. What were they accusing them of? Not worshiping like everybody else. Think about that. What were they accusing them of? Not worshiping the golden statue like everybody else. Remember, this is the end of Hamitic dynasties. Right here. And what we're looking at in Revelation 13 is the end of Japhetic dynasties. And you know what? That's what I'm trying to stress. It's not about color. Japhet happens to be European, and Hamic happens to be dark. And both of them were going the same way. It was Ham's time for 2,000 years. Now it's been Japhet's time for 2,000 years. And it's just about over. And just like Ham wasn't having it, yet he was still going away, Japhet is not having it, and he's still going away. I need you to understand that, because That's really the big picture. The sons and children of Yafet are going to be defiant all the way to the end, all the way to the point where they're cast into the lake of fire. They're going to be defiant all the way to the point where Messiah himself return and bring us back to the land. They're going to be defiant. Look at Ezekiel 38 and 39. They're going to be defiant because they have, as a whole, as a group, which there's exceptions, of course, but as a group, they have bought into the philosophy that man can be God and that they're going to live forever and their kingdom's going to last forever. That's what Nebuchadnezzar did. And Yafet's even worse because this is the end. They're the iron, cruel and hard. They'd be real nice till you mess with their money. They'd be real nice when they got their money in there. You know, you meet some of these cats. I've met millionaires. You meet some, oh, they're so nice. And you expect, oh, they're so, now there's some that ain't nice regardless, but there's, oh, they're so nice. Don't let their accounts be lower than what they expected, though. There's going to be a problem. Oh, they're so nice. Oh, they're so peaceful. Oh, the Americans, they represent peace. Don't mess with their interests, though, because they might drop a nuclear bomb on you. Ask Hiroshima. Ask Nagasaki. So they accused the Israelites of not worshiping like everybody else is worshiping, not worshiping the image that everybody else is worshiping. Remember that. They spake and said to the king Nebuchadnezzar, O king, live forever. Thou, O king, hast made a decree that every man that shall hear the sound of the cornet, flute, harp, sackbut, psaltery, and dulcimer, and all kinds of music shall fall down and worship the golden image. And whoso falleth not down and worshipeth, that he should be cast into the midst of a burning, fiery furnace. There are certain Jews whom thou hast set over the affairs of the province of Babylon, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. These men, O king, have not regarded thee. What do they mean by that? Notice, they serve not thy gods, nor worship the golden image which thou hast set up. They serve not thy gods, nor worship the golden image that thou hast set up. They serve not thy gods. Brothers and sisters, the earth is filled, I mean filled, with false gods. There's only one true God. And he has let us know who he is. He said to Moses, I am the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I am the God of the covenant that I gave to Israel with the statutes and judgments. To Israel with the statutes and judgments. That's the only true one. The God of Israel is the only true God. Don't believe me? I want to show you something. Look at the Psalms, real quick. Look at the Psalms. Psalms tells you a lot. Psalms have about more prophecy than anything, man. Psalms got a lot in it. Psalms got a lot in it. Psalms 96. Psalms 96, beginning at verse 1 and going down to verse 5. Psalms 96 from verse 1 to verse 5. Notice what it says, Psalm 96, 1 to 5. Oh, sing unto Yahweh a new song. Sing unto Yahweh all the earth. Sing unto Yahweh, bless his name. Show forth his salvation from day to day. Declare his glory among the heathen. Telling the Israelites, declare his glory among the heathen, his wonders among all the people. For Yahweh is great and greatly to be praised. He is to be feared above all gods. For all the gods of the nations, that is the heathen, nations is Gentiles, all the gods of the nations are idols, but Yahweh made the heavens. All the gods of the nations are idols. Yahweh made the heavens. See, don't buy into this ecumenical stuff that the Pope is putting forth. You know, we all serve the same God. Oh, no. Oh no. No, we don't. No, we don't. And that is why, as Israelites, when they bring forth this unified religious system, which we already have, it's already formed. See, that's why we all, everybody gets along because everybody believes they serve the same God. See, I get along with everybody, but I understand we don't serve the same God. I give people their right to serve a tree if they want to. They can serve any God they want to. The God of the Catholics, the God of the Mormons, the God of the SDAs, the God of the Baptists, the God of the Pentecostal, the God of the Buddhists, the God of the Hindus, the God of the Taoists, the God of the Muslims, or the Shiites, Muslims. All of them serve different gods, but that's their business because I am a captive in Babylon. I'm not on my land. Because if I was on my land, we'd all serve the same God. When we in the system, when we in the kingdom, we gonna all serve the same God. But right now, everybody has a different God, and that's their business. But I know the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Okay. Notice again about us, Psalm 83. Psalm 83. From verse 1 down to verse 4. Keep not thou silence, O Yah. Hold not thy peace. Be not still, O Most High, for lo, thine enemies make a tumult. And they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against thy hidden ones. Know what they call us the hidden ones? Because we in captivity to the four corners of the earth. We are among the people. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may no longer be in remembrance. That's the whole point, isn't it? To try to bury us and hide us like we don't exist. Problem they have is that the Most High knows we exist, and He exists. Ahaya, Ashar, Ahaya. And you know what? He's going to make sure the world know He exists. So anyway, back to Daniel 3. So he said, you set these Jews over the affairs of Babylon, and they're not worshiping your gods. They're not worshiping none of the things you told us to worship. They're not paying. They got their own God. They're not worshiping the image. Verse 13 of Daniel chapter 3. Then Nebuchadnezzar, in his rage and fury, commanded to bring Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Then they brought these men before the king. Rage and fury is a major part of the sons of Yafet's kingdom. Rage and fury. Remember, they're the iron. They break in pieces and bruise and stamp the residue with their feet. They're aggressive on all parts of the earth. Their whole history is aggressive rage and destruction. How you think they overcame the Aboriginal people in Australia and took over the land? How you think they overcame the South African people and took over the land? How you think they came into Canada and now what is USA and killed, destroyed the Indians and took over their land? Smile in their face, then kill them. That's the history. That's the last 2,000 years, brethren. So just like this Hamite was full of rage and fury when the Israelites didn't follow his gods, Japhet is going to be filled with rage and fury when they see we don't worship their God in their religious system. Daniel chapter 3. Nebuchadnezzar spake and said unto them, is it true, O Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego? Do not ye serve my gods, nor worship the golden image that I have set up? Now, if ye be ready, that at what time ye hear the sound of the cornet, flute, harp, sackbut, psaltery, and dulcimer, and all kinds of music, ye fall down and worship the image which I have made, well, but if ye worship not, ye shall be cast the same hour into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. And who is that Most High that shall deliver you out of my hand? One of the themes of those in power on this planet. First, again, I show you that's the Hamitic power. Nebuchadnezzar, this black man from Ham's sons, this descendant of Ham. Now you got the Caucasians, the descendants of Shaphat. One of the things they have in common, they both think they're gods. See, when they have power on the earth that's given to them from Asatan, they believe his doctrine. They believe they are God. especially nowadays when they carrying guns and shots. You know what I'm saying? They carrying guns and they can threaten you with their guns, threaten you with their bombs. Let me show you something real quick. Ezekiel chapter 38. Notice what the Most High, this is what he have to say about Yafet's weapons. Ezekiel chapter 38. Watch this, brother. See, the word of the Most High tells us everything. All we got to do is read it. It's not something you're going to pick up like you could pick up quick on a video. Like, you know what I'm saying? You got to study it. You got to spend time with it. That's why he's got us by ourselves in this COVID, to pray and spend time with him. So his spirit, the wonderful thing about the Most High, like the Bible shows us, he sends angels to his people. You think it's just your conscience? The spirit is being spoken to you by the angel that you can't see that's next to you, helping you through his word. Isn't he wonderful? Notice again, Ezekiel 38. This is what he got to say about the weapons of the sons of Yafet. Watch what he say there. Okay. Let's see. Wait, is it 38 or 39 I want? Yeah, no, 39. Ezekiel 39 from verse 1 down to verse 3. Actually, from 1 to 4. Ezekiel 39 from 1 to 4. Watch this. Therefore, thou son of man, prophesy against Gog, and say thus unto the most face, and say, thus saith the Most High Yahweh. Behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal. Them all sons of Yafet. These are Europeans. Gog, Meshach, Tubal, Magog. That is your European people. I am against thee, O Gog, chief prince of Meshach and Tubal. What are you going to do? Look, notice verse 2. And I will turn thee back and leave but the sixth part of thee, and I will cause thee to come upon the north from the north parts, and I will bring thee upon the mountains of Israel. What are you going to do with your weapons, your guns, and your bombs? I will smite thy bow out of the left hand and cause thy arrows to fall out of thy right hand. Thou shalt fall upon the mountains of Israel, thou and all thy bands and the people that is with thee. I will give thee to the ravenous birds of every sort and to the beasts of the field to be devoured. That's the end of it. And this is actually the good news for them, because he said he's going to save a sixth part of them. When you get to chapter 38, that's the second resurrection. Chapter 38 is actually after chapter 39. They're not in chronological order. Chapter 39 is the first resurrection, when they come with their weapons and they get in the beasts and the false prophets get captured and thrown in the lake of fire from Revelation 19. And he said, I'm going to save a sixth part of them. And he said, I'm going to knock, your weapons are not going to help you. See, they help you now. But when the seal of the Father's Spirit come on his people, your weapons are not going to help you. And they so used to trusting in their weapons. They so used to it. They rule the earth because of fear. Why do you think everybody on the earth fear the United States? It ain't that the people in the United States are any smarter than anybody else. The whole world knows. They done pressed them buttons twice already. That's what the world knows. The world knows they done pressed them buttons twice already. And they'll do it again. Right? It's like when you growing up and you on the block and there's some brother that you already seen him act. He might have stabbed somebody, he might have broke somebody's jaw, he might have even killed somebody. And if he did it once and he got away with it, he could do it again. And so that brother, everybody's scared of. Nobody messes with him because he's already shown he did it once. The United States is like that on the world stage. The whole world knows they've hit that button twice already. Second time, they ain't even need to do it. And they did it anyway. So they'll do it again. That's problem number one. Okay. So they already seen they will drop these bombs, no problem. Even if it kills themselves, they don't care. So the whole world respects that and is scared enough to back up. Because these sons of Yafet, they'll do it. And their cousins from Russia, that's their motherland. You ever heard of? Listen, I'm not making this up. You ever hear people say Mother Russia? You heard that, right? Mother Russia. Why they call it Mother Russia? Because that's where they all originate. That's where Yafet came when they came out the ark. That's where he went. And that's their motherland. See, just like we call Africa, black people call Africa the motherland. No, Russia's their motherland. That's where they come from. They all come from them Germanic tribes of what is now called Russia. And the motherland, just like we know, brothers over here in the United States, we know we can get crazy, but we don't mess with the brothers from the motherland. Same thing. Sons of Yefet from the motherland, they're just as crazy. Them Russians will push buttons too. Oh, they say you can push buttons, we can push buttons too. But see, we're not worried about them and their buttons and they bombs and their guns and their bullets. We're not. Because we serve the Most High. At the end of the day, He's going to knock the weapons out their hands. It's not going to help them at all. See, that's why right now He's trying to get us as Israelites to awaken, which He's getting it. I just wish more of our brethren awaken, because the more of us awaken, the greater the protection of angels we have. There won't be no George Floyds in the street when we all awaken. Or Breonna Taylor. Because brothers and sisters, the Most High is trying to awaken us up. What they did to that sister was horrible. And it's unjust. But the Most High is allowing it because He wants us to call on Him. Never mind marching in these streets. They're not going to give you no justice. They gave the sister's family $12 million of dollars that in a few years going to be worthless. But when we are awakened and we are trusting in the God of the covenant, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the Father, angels will stand at your door and they won't mess with you. They'd have shot at that door that day and them bullets wouldn't even touch her. Might have came back on them. See, we need the protection of the Father, but we got to call on Him to get it. We got to call on Him to get it. That's why He's allowing. He wants us to call on Him. Never mind marching on Washington. Never mind calling on the society to Black Lives Matter and all that lesbian garbage. No, brothers and sisters, He wants us calling on Him. You remember how when we studied Isaiah, the Most High was rebuking our fathers because they kept looking for help from Egypt, and He was rebuking them because they kept going back to Egypt and looking for help. That's what we're doing now. We're going back to Egypt looking for help. He wants us to call on Him, and He will provide protection of the spirit and of angels. They exist and they will protect you. I've witnessed. They will protect you. They will. But you got to call and invite them. And you can't invite them by going to your Baptist church or going to your Pentecostal church or going to your White Jesus church. You're not inviting the help of the Most High's angels in doing that. Those are not your gods. See, He remembers the covenant He made with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and He remembers the covenant He made with our fathers at Mount Sinai. He'll never forget that. We're their children. And He wants us to call on Him. He's given us the knowledge that we should understand these things and call on Him. And He will protect us. Okay, He will protect us. Daniel chapter 3. Who is that Most High that shall deliver you out of my hand? Notice their answer. Verse 16. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king, O Nebuchadnezzar, we are not careful to answer you in this matter. Notice he said, we are not careful. We are not careful. We ain't got to think about it. See, brothers and sisters, again, what we need to understand when we come to this truth of the Israelite Messiah of the tribe of Judah, the line of the tribe of Judah, when you come to that truth, when you understand who you are and who He is, you come to the point where your whole reason for existence is to bring glory to the Father. And in doing so, you understand that the ultimate glory that we bring to the Father is obedience. That's the ultimate glory. He don't require us all to go from one country to another and preach and be evangelists and perform all these miracles. That's not the requirement. The requirement is obedience. Fear Yah and keep His commandments. This is the whole man. That's the requirement. That's all He's requiring of us. Okay, so that's the goal, to be brought into obedience. That's why If you really want the truth, if you really want to serve the Father, you will receive his grace, because it's by that power that you can bring forth obedience. You can't bring forth obedience without the grace of Yah. You can't bring forth obedience without the faith of Messiah. We just read it. You can't. So being that that's going to help you, you understand, when people are world-class sprinters, 100-meter dash is considered, the 100-meter sprint is considered the test of who's the fastest man in the world. And so those fellas, when they get ready to run, they know the fastest are gonna run that 100 meters within 10 seconds. It's gonna be less, 10 seconds or less. They're gonna run that 100 meters, and they will take anything to get them a tenth faster. It's all about the speed. That's what it comes down to. They will do everything that's built on them running faster. Whatever they have to lift, whatever they have to eat, however they got to deal, they will do it to become faster, because it's all about performance. It's about the speed. Well, brothers and sisters, when we serve in the Father, it's all about performance. It's about obedience. And so if he's telling us, you need my spirit to obey, we're looking for that spirit. If he's telling us you need my grace to obey, we're looking for that grace, because that's the ultimate goal, performance. Perform his commandments. And we know that in our own flesh, we're going to fail. We can't perform. So now he's trying to give us the power, and we're looking for it because we want to perform. So when you get to that point and some cat comes at you like this, you ain't got to think about it. They said, we ain't not careful to answer you. You're the most powerful man, but we're not even going to mince our words with you. No, that's what they said. No. Let me think about it again. No. That was it. And that made him madder, because he's used to being God. Just like the sons of Japhet today, ruling the whole planet, used to being God. With their guns and their bombs in their crooked political systems, used to being God, creating the money and then hoarding it all, used to being God. Enjoy it. Not that much time left. Not that much time left. Just a few short years and it's over. Daniel chapter 3, verse 16 and 17. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king, O Nebuchadnezzar, we are not careful to answer thee in this matter. If it be so, our Most High, whom we serve, is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us out of thy hand, O king. But if not, be it known unto thee, O king, that we will not serve thy gods, nor worship the golden image which thou hast set up. See, the Most High is able to deliver us. But if he chooses not to, we need you to understand, whether he delivers us or not, we're not going to worship your gods. Whether and they talking to the king now, the most powerful man, the man that people didn't even look in his eyes. They couldn't even look him in the face. They had to look down when you come to the king. They had to bow to this black man. And they said, we no. They looked you in the face and no. We don't have to think about this. No. He can deliver us from your fire. And if he chooses not to, still, no. That's how you reject the mark of the beast. That's how you reject it. Brethren, it's coming. Everybody's receiving it. Everybody going to receive it. And you're going to stick out like a sore thumb when you don't. Like a sore thumb, just like these brothers. Everybody bowed down. Imagine, you ever see them bowing down to that cement block in the Middle East and Saudi Arabia? When they bow down to that thing, when they come to Mecca and they bow down, it looks like a big uniform thing of a sea of backs. That's all you see. Suppose you had three brothers standing up in the middle of it. They would stick out like a sore thumb. That's the way it was right there. And it's going to be like that nowadays. When you don't receive the mark, you're going to stick out like a sore thumb. It's purposely done that way. Light and darkness don't exist together. And they are totally contrasted. Light and darkness, totally contrasted. So when you don't receive the mark, don't worry, you're going to stick out like a sore thumb. They're going to take all your stuff. They're going to be fined. They're going to fine you by the day. Every day you don't obey, they're going to give you a fine. then you're not going to be able to go to an airport or anything that's federal. You're not going to be able to go to a bus, to an airport. You're not going to be able to go into any federal building or get any federal service. Your Social Security is going to be cut off. If you get Medicare, that's cut off. Whatever you got cut off, you're not going to have that. Then you're not going to be able to buy anything or sell anything because you're going to need a certain ID to be able to do that. You're not going to be able to buy or sell because you're not going to have the ID. So your money is going to be worthless. Then the bank, you can't even go in there because it's federal FDIC insured. You're not going to be able to go in there. They're going to take your money anyway. Then if you have a mortgage and your house is paid off, the town's going to come at you. You say, my house is paid off. Yeah, but you owe taxes. You owe property taxes. And we demand the taxes now. You can't pay, you got to get out. We're going to auction your house. But I own it outright. You owe taxes on the property. You think I'm lying? And if you have a mortgage, forget about it. Oh, no, we're going to foreclose today, sir. You cannot pay your mortgage. You're not obeying the national law. You can't pay your mortgage. We're going to foreclose. We're going to have an auction in the house. You're not going to have a house. You're not going to have a bank account. You're going to have just the clothes on your back. That's it. And you're going to stick out like a sore thumb, and nobody's going to help you. Because anybody that helps you is going against the government. This already happened, in Nazi Germany. It already happened in Nazi Germany. Study Nazi Germany, because this is going to happen on a worldwide basis to all of us. Okay? He said, if it be so, be it, if not, be it known unto thee, O king, we will not serve thy gods, nor worship the golden image which thou hast set up. Verse 19. Then was Nebuchadnezzar full of fury, and the form of his visage was changed against Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Therefore he spake and commanded that they should heat the furnace 7 times more than it was wont to be heated. And he commanded the most mighty men that were in his army to bind Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and to cast them into the burning fiery furnace. Then these men were bound in their coats, their hosen, their hats, and other garments, and were cast into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. So he was mad. He made sure they were bound. He made sure they was shackled and chained, and he had the most trusted, powerful men in his army to bring them to make sure they were going to put to death. To make sure, okay, to throw them into a burning fiery furnace. A fiery furnace. That, notice it says, verse 22, therefore, because the king's commandment was urgent and the fire exceeding hot, the flame of the fire slew those men that took up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. So the fire was so hot that them, under the command of the king, throwing them into the fire, got burned up themselves. And these 3 men were cast into a molten fire, basically. Okay? Verse 23. And these 3 men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, fell down bound into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. So now that's the end of our friends. That's the end of our heroes, right? Right? Let me tell you something. Again, this is a parallel. So we're going to be able to stand in the midst of fire by grace, by righteousness, by the Father's Spirit. We'll be able to stand and obey in the midst of fire. And what will happen? Verse 24. Then Nebuchadnezzar the king was astonished and rose up in haste and spake and said unto his counselors, did not we cast 3 men bound into the midst of the fire? They answered and said unto the king, true, O king. And he answered and said, lo, I see 4 men loose, walking in the midst of the fire, and they have no hurt. And the form of the 4th is like the son of Yah. Who was that came and delivered the people that were his people from the fiery furnace? It was Messiah. Messiah himself came and delivered his people. What's going to happen in our day when they get ready to kill us? Messiah himself is going to deliver us. Messiah himself is going to deliver us like he delivered them. And the fire did not hurt them, and the fire is not going to hurt us. Messiah himself will deliver us. Up until now, up until the awakening of the Israelites, nobody has really known Messiah. Nobody has. They have really not known him. He's not white Jesus with blonde hair and blue eyes. He's not soft and flowery and telling you to let people kill you. That's not Messiah. He is the Lion of the tribe of Judah. He is the root and the offspring of David. And he comes in righteousness to judge and make war. All of these things are what the Bible says. In righteousness, he does judge and make war. That's the true line of the tribe of Judah. And he is seeking to fulfill his Father's will and have his people filled with the spirit of his Father's righteousness. And for now, that's why the true gospel is going out now. It hasn't gone out before. It's going out now. And it's going to reach the whole earth because the 144,000 are scattered north, south, east, and west. It's going to reach the whole planet. And there's going to be conviction on every person. But the majority of the people are going to stifle the conviction. You can do that. You can decide, I'm not going to lend myself to this conviction. I'm not going to move on it. I'm not going to believe it. You don't have to. But when Messiah stares you in the face, you're going to remember the exact moment you decided to leave the conviction. When he stares you in the face with eyes like fire and he looks right through you, you're going to remember every time you decided to go against him. And you're going to understand when he throws you in the fire what it's about. That you're condemned. You're not going to fight that. You're going to know. Even the devil himself will bow and know he lost. Daniel chapter 3. I see 4 men loose walking in the midst of the fire, and they have no hurt. And the form of the fourth is like the son of Yah. Then Nebuchadnezzar came near the mouth of the furnace, of burning fiery furnace, and spake and said, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, ye servants of the Most High Yah, come forth and come hither. Then Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came forth of the midst of the fire, and the princes, governors, and captains, the king's counselors, being gathered together, saw these men, upon whose bodies the fire had no power, nor was there an hair of their head singed, neither were their coats changed, nor the smell of fire had passed on them. Then Nebuchadnezzar spake and said, Blessed be the Most High of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who has sent his angel and delivered his servants that trusted in him. They have changed the king's word and yielded their bodies that they might not worship, that they may not serve nor worship any god except their own God. Therefore, I make a decree that every people, nation, and language which speak anything amiss against the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego shall be cut in pieces, and their houses shall be made a dunghill, because there is no other God that can deliver after this sort. Then the king promoted Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the province of Babylon. This is what makes Nebuchadnezzar the head of gold. This is the difference now. He said, I don't want anybody speaking anything amiss against this God because he's the true God. There was no other of the other metals. You had Cyrus that came next to silver. He spoke that in 2 Chronicles chapter 36. But after that, the Greeks, the Romans. So it gets harder for them to come to this truth. Nebuchadnezzar came to this truth. You're going to see that as we study the next chapter. He came to this truth. But it's going to be harder. As the metals get harder, so do the hearts. And we're now in iron and clay. It's going to be hard for some of them. That's why when a son of Yafet comes to this truth today, generally, I'll tell you, my experience has been, and I've baptized sons of Yafet and daughters of Yafet into this truth. And I want to tell you, the ones I baptized to a person, they've all been very poor. They've been not rich people. They're not people with a lot of money. They're people that have suffered from poverty and the effects of poverty and living in poverty. They've suffered. They suffered being beaten. They suffered in a corrupt system. They've been raped. They've been all through that. And that's when the ones that come to this truth, the poor ones, the ones that understand this system is corrupt and they don't make no excuse for it. But the majority of the people that live nice, that actually support this system of corruption and think it's okay, just maybe needs to be tweaked a little bit, those are the ones they're not gonna make it. That's why the Most High said, I'm gonna save a 60 of y'all. I'm gonna save a 60 of y'all. And of the Israelites, he said, I'm going to save a third of y'all. It's a hard situation, brothers and sisters. It really is. It's a bad situation. But I'm praising the Most High. It's going to come to an end where there's no more death, no more suffering, no more pain, no more tears, no more crime, no more corruption, no more murder and rape, or no more. It's coming to the end. And I'm looking forward to it. And those that want the kingdom of righteousness, I give praise and honor and glory to y'all. Those that don't, just keep stepping. It's okay. It's all good. And enjoy the corruption. Enjoy it. Because you know what? It's not going to last much longer. Just a few short years. That's all you got. It's almost over. We're going to come back and do chapter 4. It's 12:45. I'm going to come back at 1:15 and do 1:15 Eastern time and do chapter 4 of Daniel, the prophecy. I pray the Most High will bless you and keep you and cause his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you, that he lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. We'll be back at 1:15 for those that want to come back.